Hi, this is Lane from Garanix, and now we're going to talk about how to hook up a booster pump to the GX300. The Garanix booster pumps are adjustable at the very front, and they'll lift up your input pressure to over 75 psi. We recommend running it at 65, but this booster pump will lift your pressure from 10 to 75 by virtually adjusting the small screw at the very front. Our pumps come with a high pressure cutoff, so that when the float valve engages, the pump shuts off. And when the float valve opens, the pump will come back on. All the pumps are run by a small 24-volt transformer to keep a low voltage on your system. Okay, well here we are with all the components that are included with our pump. You get the booster pump itself, a high pressure cutoff switch, and a transformer. To start this installation, we're going to install the pump first, and we're going to do that by inserting it in the 3/8 feed line. So for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to cut it very close to the unit, but you can cut it farther back where it's safer to keep the pump. Of course, you wouldn't want to keep it right on a sink. I simply cut the 3/8 feed line. Actually, I want to point out, notice on the pump there's a direction of flow. There's arrows on the front, on the pump head itself. So I want to be going in the direction of the flow. I'm going to insert the 3/8 tube, make sure it seats all the way in. I'm going to take the other end of my 3/8 tube, my feed line, and put it on the input of the pump head, like that. And now the pump is hooked in. The next thing I'm going to do is install this high pressure cutoff switch. Now, you don't need to install this if you're not going to use this pump with a float valve or a manual shutoff. I'm going to show you how this works. When the pressure in this RO line gets to a certain level, it's going to shut the pump off. So this works really great in conjunction with a float valve. To install this switch, we're just going to put it in the RO out tubing. It doesn't need to be close to the unit itself. It can be farther away, wherever it's safe to keep it. For the sake of demonstration, I'm going to put it right here. Simply cut your tube. This switch installs in any direction. There is no flow to this switch. I'm going to point the electrics away from the unit. Make sure the tubing is seated in both ends. And now my pressure switch is installed. The last thing to do is hook up the transformer. The pressure switch comes pre-wired to the pump. Of course, there's female and male ends, and it can only get hooked up one way, so you can't hook it up wrong. And I simply plug my transformer into the last open end, and now we're good to go. My complete assembly is wired up. All that's left to do is turn the pump on and turn the water on. So I'm going to start by turning the water on. Right now I have my test bench pressure regulator set to 40 psi. This is a condition where a lot of people are going to buy this booster pump. Here's a GX300 with 40 psi of flow. I'm going to pull off the float valve to show you. Still not bad. You can fill the reservoir real fast with this. But for people who want to get the full benefit out of a GX300, especially one with high flow membranes, this booster pump is going to come in really handy with 40 psi of feed water. So I'm going to hook my float valve back up. And then I'm going to have my assistant hook up the pump. Now the pump is cruising. Let's pull off the float valve and show you the difference. Unplug the pump, Eli. Here's about 39 psi feed water. And now the 300 is really putting out some water. On the front of the pump head is a small adjustment screw. And an Allen wrench is used to adjust the output pressure of our pump. By turning it clockwise, I increase the pressure. Turning it counterclockwise, I decrease the pressure. We like to run our ROs at 65 psi. Of course, these pumps can take you way hotter. Now we're up to about 80 psi. And that's a little hot for me to feel comfortable, but I'm going to bring it down to 70, let's say, just to show you. And now we're really humming. Look at that flow. Now I'm going to put the float valve back on to show you how the high pressure cutoff works. When the float valve kicks on, the high pressure built up in this RO line is going to shut the pump down. And it also shuts off the waste line as well, because it works in conjunction with the auto shutoff valve. Now the pressure on this high pressure line is also adjustable with an Allen wrench, your shutoff pressure. And you're going to want to adjust this so that the pump shuts off just before your auto shutoff valve shuts off. And that's easy to do. Turning it clockwise will increase the cutoff pressure. Turning it counterclockwise will decrease the cutoff pressure. And so when my reservoir needs to get filled, my float valve opens up and my pump turns on. And as my reservoir fills, the float valve engages and my pump turns off, so does my shutoff valve. Make sure when you're mixing water and electricity, hook this up safely. Feel free to move your pump away from your RO, mount it to the wall. It has vibration dampers, as rubber feet as vibration dampers, so you can mount it safely to studs. You can keep the electrics away from the unit, away from where any leak could cause fire or damage or risk your safety. That's it. Thanks for joining us.